Ever since I was 12, I've known my cousin was a thief. She didn't steal money or jewelry, at least not back then. She stole moments, attention, and eventually people. Her name is Vanessa, and for most of my life, I was the backdrop to her dazzling, chaotic performance. We grew up next door to each other in a quiet coastal town in Maine, our backyard separated by a rickety fence. As children, we were inseparable. I was the quiet, observant one, content with my sketchbooks and the family dog. Vanessa was a force of nature, loud, magnetic, and perpetually in motion. She had a smile that could convince you of anything, and she used it like a weapon. If I had a new toy, she'd borrow it and lose it, only for it to reappear months later, broken. If I got praise for a good grade, she'd orchestrate some dramatic feat, climbing the old oak tree and pretending to be stuck, to shift all eyes to her. My parents would sigh and say, "That's just Vanessa. She needs a little extra love." The dynamic crystallized in high school. I fell in love with my best friend, Henry, a kind, steady boy with a passion for marine biology. For 3 years, it was a secret I held close, a sweet, private hope. The summer before our senior year, I finally gathered the courage to tell him. The night before I planned to confess, Vanessa came over, found my diary, and read it. The next day, she asked Henry to help her with her car, a clunky convertible she loved more than anything. 2 hours later, they were officially dating. She made a show of linking her arm through his in front of me, her eyes meeting mine with a triumphant glint. "I hope you're happy for us, Katie," she said, her voice dripping with faux sincerity. "He's just so easy to talk to. You understand, right?" I understood perfectly. She'd seen something I valued and took it, not because she wanted it, but because she could. Henry and Vanessa dated for 2 tumultuous years before he broke it off, citing her possessiveness and constant need for drama. She played the heartbroken heroine for months, milking sympathy from everyone in our small town. I went to college out of state, built a life, and eventually married a wonderful man named James, a software developer with a calm demeanor that was the antithesis of my childhood chaos. We settled back in Maine, not far from our hometown. I became a graphic designer, working from home, and we built a peaceful, happy life. Vanessa drifted from job to job, from relationship to relationship, leaving a trail of minor scandals in her wake. We were civil at family functions, but the distance between us was a cold, wide ocean. The first crack in my carefully constructed piece appeared as a simple Instagram message request. It was from Henry. We hadn't spoken in years, aside from polite nods at the occasional wedding or funeral. The message started innocuously. "Hey, Katie, long time. So you're doing design work now. Your stuff looks great." I replied politely, "A brief thanks. Hope you're well." I showed James a message, a habit of transparency we cultivated. "Oh, high school friend," I said. He shrugged, uninterested in ancient history. The messages continued, growing more frequent, more personal. Henry reminisced about our friendship, about how easy it was to talk to me. Then, one rainy Tuesday evening, it came, "I need to say something I should have said a decade ago. I had feelings for you back then, Katie. Real ones. I was just too stupid and scared to see what was right in front of me. Being with Vanessa was a mistake, a reaction to being intimidated by how genuine you were. I've never stopped thinking about you." The words fell like a bucket of ice water. There was no flattery, only a profound discomfort and a sense of violation. This wasn't a romantic confession. It was a rewrite of history that implicated me in a betrayal I never committed. My hands were cold as I typed my reply. "Henry, this is completely inappropriate. I am happily married. What you're suggesting is disrespectful to me, to my husband, and to your past relationship with my cousin. Do not contact me again." I immediately blocked him. Then, heart pounding, I took my laptop to James, who was working in his study. I showed him the entire chain. James read it, his expression turning from curiosity to grim understanding. He took my hand. "Well," he said, his voice calm but firm, "that's disappointing from him. But you handled it perfectly. I'm sorry he put you in that position." His trust was a blanket, smothering my initial panic. I thought that was the end of it. I was naive. Vanessa called me 3 days later. Her voice was a serrated knife, slicing through the phone. "You scheming little hypocrite," she hissed, barely coherent with rage. "All these years playing the innocent, and you've been waiting to steal him back." I was blindsided. "Vanessa, what are you talking about?" "Henry, he told me everything. How you've been messaging him, pouring your heart out, trying to get him to leave his life for you." "That is a lie," I said, my own anger rising. "He messaged me." I shut him down immediately. "I have the screenshots." I told my husband. "I don't care about your screenshots," she screamed. "You always do this. You play the good girl, but you're just jealous. You always have been. You couldn't stand that he chose me, so you've been poisoning him against me for years." Nothing I said mattered. The truth was irrelevant. In her narrative, I was the villain, and she was the wrong party. She hung up, and the siege began. For weeks, it was a campaign of subtle and not-so-subtle attacks. She told our aunts and uncles I was having an emotional affair. She bumped into James at the local grocery store and said, with feigned concern, "You know, you should really keep an eye on Katie's online friends. Some old flames never die." James, bless him, had just stared at her and said, "I trust my wife completely," before walking away. But the stress was insidious. Family gatherings became minefields. She'd make pointed comments about loyalty and homewreckers while looking directly at me. Our parents, ever eager to keep the peace, urged me to just make up with her. "She's family, Catherine," my mother pleaded. "She's hurt. Can't you be the bigger person?" The bigger person. The phrase made me want to scream. Being the bigger person, I was learning, meant allowing yourself to be trampled for the sake of someone else's fragile ego. I began to pull away from extended family events, prioritizing the peace of my own home. I thought her fury would burn itself out. I underestimated her capacity for destruction. My sanctuary was my friendship with Miranda. We'd met in a prenatal yoga class 6 years earlier and forged a bond that felt more sisterly than anything I shared with Vanessa. Miranda was a fiercely intelligent landscape architect, married to Ben, a cheerful, outgoing chef. Our families were close. Our kids, a boy and a girl each, were best friends. We had weekly dinners, shared holidays, and held each other's secrets. Miranda was my person. One evening in late October, Miranda came to my door. Her face, usually so vibrant and full of light, was ashen, her eyes red raw. She didn't have to say a word. I pulled her inside, made tea, and held her hand as she shattered. Ben was having an affair. She'd found the texts on his iPad. The other woman was Vanessa. The world tilted on its axis. The air left my lungs. This wasn't just revenge. This was annihilation. She hadn't just aimed at me. She'd launched a missile at the heart of my chosen family, at the person who represented everything pure and supportive in my life. Miranda sobbed, recounting the evidence, hotel receipts, secret weekend trips disguised as work conferences, the love notes. Vanessa had even used the same perfume Miranda wore, a scent Ben had always loved. "She knew, Katie," Miranda whispered, her voice broken. "She knew how much our friendship meant to you. She knew my kids. She sat at my dinner table. Guilt, corrosive and suffocating, flooded me. This is my fault." I said, the words tasting like ash. She did this to get to me. Miranda gripped my hand with surprising strength. "No, Look at me. No, Ben made his choices. Vanessa made hers. This is on them, not on you. But the weight was unbearable. Ben moved out that week. The children were confused and heartbroken. Miranda, in her devastation, transformed. The grief hardened into a steely resolve. She hired a divorce lawyer who was known for being relentlessly thorough. During the discovery process, they uncovered more than just evidence of the affair. They found messages, hundreds of them, showing Vanessa's calculated campaign. She hadn't just seduced Ben. She had systematically undermined Miranda, telling him Miranda was cold, ambitious, a neglectful mother, that he deserved a real woman who would prioritize him. She had sent Miranda anonymous, cruel messages about her weight and her career months before the affair even began, trying to erode her confidence. Miranda's lawyer informed her that our state still had laws concerning alienation of affection. Given the evidence of intentional interference and emotional manipulation, they had a strong case. Miranda decided to sue. It wasn't about the money, she told me. It was about making Vanessa answer for the deliberate, malicious destruction of her family. When Vanessa was served, the hurricane made landfall in my life once more. She showed up at my house, not with rage, but with performance of pathetic despair. She was on my porch, weeping, when I returned from taking the kids to school. James was at work. I almost turned the car around, but I knew it would never end if I didn't face her. I let her in. She collapsed onto my sofa, a picture of ruined beauty. "Katie, you have to help me," she implored, her voice trembling. "Miranda is suing me. She's going to ruin me." I listened coldly as she outlined her predicament, the legal papers, the evidence, the sheer scale of what Miranda's lawyer was pulling together. "I can't afford this. I'll lose everything." "What did you think would happen, Vanessa?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "You set out to destroy her marriage. You succeeded. Now, there are consequences. You have to talk to her," she cried. "Make her drop it. We're family. Blood is thicker than water." That old, tired adage. I looked at her, this woman I'd known my whole life, and saw only a stranger fueled by spite and emptiness. "Miranda is my family," I said slowly. "The family I chose. The one who's been there for me. You stopped being my family the moment you decided to weaponize my life." The performance vanished. Her face contorted with familiar malice. "You're jealous. You always have been. You're loving this, aren't you?" Seeing me brought low. "No," I said, standing up. "I'm heartbroken. But not for you. For Miranda's kids. For Ben, who threw away something real for this. For the years I wasted thinking there was a sister in you somewhere. Get out of my house." She left, spitting venomous promises about me regretting this. The fallout was immediate. My phone became a weapon of mass guilt. My mother, "Katie, she's your cousin. How can you let her be dragged through the courts?" Talk to Miranda. My father, "This is tearing the whole family apart. Can't you just be the peacemaker?" Even distant relatives chimed in, parroting the family first mantra, blind to the fact that Vanessa had declared war on family a long time ago. The pressure was immense. James became my anchor, reminding me daily that I was not responsible for the monster Vanessa had chosen to become. "Supporting Miranda isn't choosing against family," he'd say. "It's choosing decency over cruelty." The lawsuit progressed. Miranda's lawyer was a pit bull. The settlement offer they presented to Vanessa was substantial, a number that reflected the severity of the emotional and financial damage. Vanessa, of course, had no way to pay. The panic intensified. She began a social media campaign, posting vague, martyr-like statuses about betrayal and being stabbed in the back by those closest to you. Our mutual acquaintances were abuzz with gossip. I stopped looking. I muted her, blocked her, and focused on my own family and on being present for Miranda and her children. The final confrontation happened at my parents' 40th wedding anniversary party. I'd been reluctant to go, but James convinced me we shouldn't hide. Vanessa arrived late, her entrance dramatic. She made a beeline for me in front of a crowd of relatives. "Are you happy now?" she demanded, her voice loud enough to draw every eye. "Your best friend is trying to bankrupt me. Are you and her celebrating?" The room fell silent. I felt the weight of decades of expectation, of the be the bigger person mantra pressed down on me. I looked at my parents' pleading faces, at the curious stares of my aunts and uncles. Then I looked at Vanessa. "No one made you sleep with Ben," I said, my voice clear and carrying. "No one made you send those vile messages. No one made you try to destroy a family. You did that. All of it. Miranda is holding you accountable. That's not my doing. It's yours. She's your friend. You could stop her." Vanessa shrieked. "I would never ask her to," I replied, "because what you did was evil. And friends protect each other from evil, even when it comes wearing a familiar face." The gasps in the room were audible. I had broken the unspoken family rule. Never air the dirty laundry. Never call a spade if it causes a scene. I took James's hand. "We're leaving." My mother followed us to the door, tears in her eyes. "Katie, why did you have to do that? In front of everyone." "Because she did it in front of everyone, Mom," I said, my own tears finally coming not from sadness, but from a lifetime of released pressure. For years, she's been doing it in front of everyone, and you all just asked me to smile through it. I'm done. That night was a line in the sand. Some family members, over time, quietly reached out to express understanding. Others chose Vanessa's dramatic narrative. I learned to be at peace with that. The lawsuit reached its conclusion. Faced with a mountain of evidence and the prospect of a public trial, Vanessa's lawyer strongly advised her to settle. She had to take out a massive loan, secured against a small inheritance she'd received from our grandmother. It would take her years to pay it off. The financial consequence was real, but the true penalty was social. The details, though not published, seeped out. Our community now saw the calculated cruelty behind the charming smile. The invitations dried up. The sympathetic social media comments vanished. She became a cautionary tale. Miranda, with the closure of the lawsuit and her divorce finalized, began to heal. She started her own landscape design firm, channeling her energy into creation, not destruction. Our friendship, forged in fire, became unbreakable. We spent our weekends with our kids, hiking in the state parks, building new, happy memories on solid ground. James and I took that weekend getaway. We went to a secluded cabin with no internet. We walked in the woods, cooked simple meals, and talked about the future. Our future, free from the shadow of Vanessa's chaos. The silence there wasn't empty. It was full of peace. Recently, I heard through the family grapevine that Vanessa moved to a city a few hours away. She got a job in sales. I don't know if she's changed. Part of me hopes, for her own sake, that she has. But that hope is no longer my burden to carry. The theft that began when we were 12, of toys, of moments, of peace, has finally ended. Not because she stopped taking, but because I finally, definitively locked the door. I look at my children playing with Miranda's kids in our backyard, at James reading on the porch, at the life I built board by board with love and intention. The cousin I once knew is a ghost from another life. The family I have now is the one I protect, the one I chose, and the one that chooses me back every single day. The chain of cause and effect that started with stolen diary entry ended not with a bang, but with the quiet, resolute sound of a page turning and a new story beginning.